New at 5, companies profiting off unpaid bills are making billions of dollars every year. And consumer advisor Clark Howard says for those facing a lawsuit over a debt, walking away without a fight is a big mistake.
Like a lot of other people, I had a hard time.
Jill Sheridan says she built up a lot of debt when she was out of work a few years ago.
It was out of necessity and definitely not out of pleasure.
So when a company that collects old debt sued her, she took it seriously because she didn't recognize the company Midland Funding LLC or the Midland claim she was being sued for.
There was a trial date. There was lots of other consumers there, defendants. And basically the attorneys kind of ran the courtroom.
Jill says most of the other defendants agreed to settle the debt, but not her.
I'd never heard of them before, and I wasn't going to take their word for it.
Her case was dismissed. Consumer lawyer Chris Armour says it's important Jill didn't ignore the lawsuit. He says simply answering the charges makes all the difference.
Otherwise, you're not giving the judge a chance to even hear your side of it.
He says cases like Jill's are common. Credit card companies oftentimes bundle tens of thousands of debts they know they'll never collect and sell them to companies called debt buyers. And these companies bank on consumers ignoring the lawsuits, which means they're automatically responsible for the debt.
They're dealing with 90 to 95% of these lawsuits going unanswered.
In fact, according to a 2013 report by the Federal Trade Commission, only 3 out of every 100 consumers disputed their lawsuits in 2008. Armour says always fight it.
I would say it's very likely that there are sufficient errors in the typical debt buyer lawsuit to where you're able to leverage either a dismissal or a very reduced payment amount.
Which is exactly what happened when Jill was sued a second time by Midland Funding.
In my case, they didn't have the evidence, and they conceded to that at the end.
She successfully defended herself, and a judgment was issued in her favor. Now she works with Chris as a counselor for people in situations like hers.
The worst possible thing you could do is to do nothing at all.
Jill is so right. The worst thing you can ever do is ignore a lawsuit. You ignore it, you're going to lose. So you get notified with one. Is it really your debt? Is the debt a valid one? Is it too old for you to be sued about anyway? And if it is actually a current debt, is the amount right? You need to investigate, you need to defend yourself, and most important, you've got to show up in court. Otherwise, you're automatically gonna owe the money. I'm Clark Howard.